All right, on this problem, we're going to be doing a little more of solving equations. We'll do some combining like terms, we'll do some distribution, and we'll also do some where I have variables on each side, so I have to do a multi-step equation instead of just a two-step equation. So I'll do one of each of these to get you started. Oh, also notice we do have one that has a expression as part of numerator, so I'm going to have to treat that as though it's in parentheses and get rid of that 2 first. Alright, so as always, we start off solving problems by dividing our two sides of the equal sign. I'm going to circle my variables, and now I have two numbers on one side with the variable, so I'm going to add those together. A -5 plus a 16 gives me n plus 11 equals -3. Start the process over by circling. Subtract 11, n equals -14. That was pretty easy. So p goes to the -14. Make sure there's no other -14. And there's not. So let's look at one that does a distribution. Yeah. Actually, I want to do one that has a division in it, just so make sure you're refreshed on it. So circle my variable, subtract 11. That means a divided by 6 equals 9. Remember, that's an a, not a 9. So to get rid of a divided 6, I have to multiply by 6. So that becomes a 1. So a is 54. So I'll go up at find 54 and I'll put a 7 there for all those times. There it is, just one S. It's way over here. Now let's do one with the distribution. The 9 won't change. I've got to distribute the 2 to the 6, so 2 to the x, 2x. I also have to distribute the 2 to the 6, so plus 12, and that's going to equal 28. I've got two things to get away from the 2, so let's add those together first. Start over, 2x minus 3. Divide both by 2. So x equals half of 25 is 12 and a half. So let's go up here and see if we can find a 12 and a half, or 12.5. There's one, so it should be an E. We're probably going to find a lot of these. 12 and a half, there's an E. 12 and a half, there's an E. I think I wrote that very well. This is a P. And 12 and a half, there's another E. So we had 4 of those. Alright, now let's do one, let's take care of this one where we have an expression as part of a numerator. Now, anytime we have this, we're going to have to treat the 7a plus 1 as though it is in parentheses. So that's why I put the parentheses around it. So first, let's get rid of the 2, because we're doing reverse order of operation. Parentheses would go last, division goes first. So to get rid of a divided 2, I multiply by 2. So I end up with 7a plus 1 equals 36. Got to subtract 1 from each side. And then divide both sides by 7. Sorry, Mr. Cow. So 35 divided by this 7 equals 5. So a equals 5, so I'm going to go up and find L. I'm sorry, I'm going to go to find the 5 and replace it with an L. There's a 5. That's it. Okay, just remember when I see a negative and a negative right next to each other, it looks ugly, so we can turn that into a plus. And remember to do your distribution when there's distribution. And remember that when you're doing that, this whole -2 has to be distributed. It's the number and the sign in front of it. So this will be 11 minus 2 times 3 m's is 6 m's. And then I have to do the -2 times a -10, so that's going to be a plus 20. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times m is minus 5 m's. Make sure you do your whole distribution. Make sure you keep track of if a negative is multiplied by a negative, that you're changing the signs. So on this, you would start over, circle, circle. You've got 2 numbers over here, so let's take care of that. Now you're going to have to get rid of a number, and you're going to have to get rid of a number. You're going to have to move numbers to one side and variables to the other. So I'm going to move this 6 towards that. Wait, I didn't circle. I should have circled. I'm going to have to add 6 to both sides. So that means this side is an m. 20 plus m this time, because -5 m's plus 6 m's is a positive m. And that equals a 31. Last thing I have to do is subtract 20. So 31 minus 20 is 11, so m equals 11. So I'm going to go up and see if I have any 11s up there and get rid of them, and put a t in its place. I keep getting confused on these because I have m equaling 11, so I want to go up there and put an m in. But remember, this is letter T, which is an 11. So 11 is a T, T, just the 2. So just remember to do your distribution. Remember that a fraction means times 2 divided by 3. Remember that a negative distributed will change the sign inside a parentheses. When you're adding, you're going to have to add a fraction to each side of this. Remember that you cannot add 1/3 and 5/8. That's a good opportunity for you to change your calculator into fraction mode. So I hit mode, and now I'm going to go down to fraction, to answers, and change it to fraction approximate. Remember when you're doing this to always put the fractions in parentheses. So when you add it, it will give you the fraction form of it. So just be careful when you do it. So I have to add 5/8 to each side. The common denominator between an 8 and a 3 is 24. If you haven't seen it, the easy way to add numbers and you don't know the common denominator, in this case it would be 24, is if you just multiply across and multiply across, it'll be 8 plus 15, which is 23, and then 3 times 8 is 24. So that's the easiest way to do it. But since you can use your calculator to do it, just make sure you put your fractions in parentheses when you do that. And just remember to always circle your X. Remember on distributions that you're not just distributing the number, you're distributing the number and the operation or sign that's in front of it. So make sure you're doing that on these.